Hello there. So most brands, I believe, either spam their list with discounts until it dies, the deliverability is shot, or they barely send anything at all. However, what if I told you there's a simple system that consistently adds 30% more revenue in less than 90 days without spending a dollar on ads? Okay, so why can you trust me? We've been scaling brands here at Hayes Media in retention marketing from 7 figures to 8 figures and beyond. There's an example here of a client that's been bringing in over 33% attributed revenue, 24% increase from previous year, and almost just under $1 million coming from email marketing. That's not even to mention that they also have SMS marketing with us on Postscript. That's not even to mention that they also have SMS marketing with us, both on Postscript and voice note marketing on Para, where we're bringing in an additional $50,000 to $100,000 per month just from SMS marketing. But today, we're going to be specifically talking about email. So who am I and why can you trust me? So I've already gone over the trust me part, but a bit about who I am. So I'm Daniel. I'm a retention marketing leader. And over the past 8 years, I've helped generate $35 million plus in email revenue for over 25 plus e-commerce brands in various different niches. And I've sent over 500 million now. I'm not counting every single email, but looking at my Klaviyo dashboards, I've sent over 500 million emails. And in this video, I'm going to show you the exact 80-20 campaign strategy we used to transform one brand's email channel into a predictable growth machine. I'm going to go through with you step by step, the real dashboards, the real campaigns, and the exact process we still use today. So let's dive in. First of all, let's talk about the problem that most brands face. And I know a lot of you guys who are watching this are very familiar with these struggles. So first of all, we have the automation struggle. So we've got poor performing flows that fail to convert subscribers into customers consistently, especially post-purchase, getting that LTV predictable and growing month by month. Sales blast dependency. Now, everybody in the email marketing space has experienced this. There's an over-reliance, I believe, on promotional emails that burn through subscriber lists rapidly. Okay. We also have content neglect. I know it's quite extreme, some of these words, but really content neglect is a serious issue. Essentially, value-driven campaigns are ignored and missing engagement opportunities entirely. And we'll go over why it's so important to really maximize engagement before sales in a moment. Last point, revenue leakage. So I believe, and it's proven by the data I've seen countless times over and over again, that significant money is left on the table with every poorly executed promotional campaign. So first of all, before I get into the examples and everything about the strategy, I want to explain a little bit where this method came from. And it isn't created by me. It's actually created by something called the Pareto principle. It's the 80-20 rule. And if you guys aren't familiar with this, basically it says 80% of your results come from just 20% of your effort. And it means a small number of actions bring huge results. And there's a whole book on this called 80-20, which basically uses real life examples based off of nature's law. It's not just in business. It's not just in entrepreneurship. It's genuinely as a whole in nature. What's been proven is 20% of effort has the 80% of results. That's why habits and consistency is so important. Now, I'm not going to be going over too much of the habits. And again, I'm not so much of a self-help guy. I come from a very analytical and more of a creative background. And this principle, when applied into your email marketing campaign strategy, is generally so powerful. The compound effect it has is generally remarkable. And as I've shown you previously on the dashboard, that's what gets you those incremental gains year over year. Now, first of all, so how do you apply this principle to email marketing? So first of all, we need to find what the 20% of things we do gives us the 80% of results. I believe that it's a smart way to work. And again, it gives you compounded results month on month, year over year. And email marketing, the way this actually applies is, if you were to really translate it, is that 80% of our sales and promotional content, like Black Friday, Labor Day, and Memorial Day, often come from only 20% of our campaigns, customer groups, or main products you promote by email. All right. So 80% of our sales only come from 20% of the campaigns that we send out. So using this rule, it allows us to focus on what's important to get the most out of our email marketing strategy, specifically around campaigns. And this is without wasting time or money. So let me go on to the next slide and explain what the 80/20 campaign strategy is. So this is the gold. Again, I'm going to be giving you guys a sheet to take away with you. It'll be in the description, and you may have to sign up for it or book a call with us to get this. I'll explain some more at the end. First of all, what is it? So we have the frequency, cadency, 3 to 4 sends that go out weekly. It's around 12 to 50, maybe more, depending on the brand and your list size. If you've got a larger list size, you'll segment more, which means you'll have more campaigns going out. But generally, just as a kind of foundation, you want to be doing a minimum of 3 to 4 sends weekly with campaigns monthly for optimal engagement. Now, this is where the 80/20 rule takes effect. 80% of those emails are going to be educational, entertaining content that trains subscriber engagement patterns. Okay. Now, what are engagement patterns? I think off the top of my head, you've got open rates, right? Which are obviously hard to track, but the main ones is click-through rates. Okay. And reply rates, if you're tracking those as well. So how much are people actually really engaging with your emails rather than just like skimming over and being like, oh, just another marketing email, right? Now, the sale playbook I'll go over in a second, but the 20% is basically sales campaigns, which generally are asking for the sell. And usually this is based around a specific holiday that's related to the brand. Now, I'm going to give you our exact sale playbook that you can go away today and use to plan out your sales and how we go about it here, including an example campaign calendar for November, including Black Friday for this year. So I'm giving you all the stuff to take away and apply this today. Now, a bit more explanation. So first of all, we want to set our baseline and target. So now that you know what the 80/20 strategy is, very simply, very plainly, how do we track it? How do we know like what's working, what's not? So here I've got an example of a 45% attributed revenue. You want to be aiming for 30% revenue coming from purely campaigns, right? So 30% increase over 90 days comes from campaigns. Okay. And you also want to be tracking total attributed revenue, again, is over 30%. The 30% mark tends to be quite good, especially for campaigns. Majority of your revenue is coming from flows. Now, if it's switched, if you've got lots of, like I have some brands which have like over 70% coming from campaigns, it's also okay. You know, there's nothing wrong here. We just don't want to go below. Right, we don't want to be seeing like 5% revenue targets if you're a brand that's been doing email marketing for over like 2 or 3 years. If you just started out, if you're watching this and you're just starting out, this is something to aim towards, and it'll happen month over month. You'll like slowly compound and grow. If you're already at this level, or if you're close to it, then again, if you apply these strategies now, over the next 90 days, you're going to see big increases. But regardless, this is what we're aiming for, 30% plus. The 3 key metrics is we have the campaign versus flow breakdown, and also we want to make sure that we are tracking year over year. So first of all, we here at Hayes, what we would do is we establish a current email revenue percentage. So go have a look, see what your attributed revenue is looking at. Then you want to analyze campaign versus flow performance. And then you want to do an audit of your engagement plus deliverability metrics to set realistic targets. And you can do that very simply within the Klaviyo dashboard. I'll even show you now where you can check. So if I go to dashboards, and then you can check your deliverability here. So dashboards, deliverability, you can then also put it by month to date, previous period, or previous year, and you can apply, and then you'll get different metrics based off of that. Okay, so go have a look at this deliverability board, audit where you're currently at, and then come back. So once you've done your deliverability audit, once you've checked what your engagement metrics are, what we're going to do is we want to just do a little deliverability tune-up. Okay, so whenever we change strategies, whenever we switch into something new, we need to check our deliverability before we do anything. Okay. And so I also believe that not a lot of brands are doing this. We do deliverability checks every 2 weeks to double check like where we are and where we're aiming to. So first of all, use a tool like Toolbox. I can show you here, and you want to do a general check on your MX records, which will give you a list of everything from your SPF, DKIM, and DMRC. And again, you just put in the domain name and then it will look it up for you. Then the second point, once you've checked, your subdomain and authentication, make sure you also have a sending domain. So on the domain part, click on settings, and then you want to click on domains. And then when you click on domains, they'll allow you to add a branding sending domain. So now that you've authenticated, again, make sure your subdomain's all good, your records all correct. And again, DKIM is also sorted out. Usually Klaviyo sorts this out for you, so you shouldn't have a problem there. But things like SPF are usually missed, so double check SPF. Then the second point, list hygiene and suppression logic. So again, you want to be cleaning and removing inactive subscribers and implement smart suppression rules automatically. So what that is, you're excluding your sunset segment. Those are people who haven't engaged with the brand over 180 days, whether they opened, whether they clicked, whether they've been on the website. You want to make sure if those people who are super unengaged aren't receiving your standard 80 to 20 campaigns. That's a different problem. That's a completely different strategy. That's a reactivation strategy, which I'm not going to go over today, but that is something that you need to implement and look at, is how do we re-engage those unengaged audiences? It's not part of your general content calendar month by month. You need to make sure you're suppressing them or excluding them from your campaigns. The third point is deploy reply boosting strategies that signal human interaction to email providers. Now, I don't see me and Jordan talked about this in a recent podcast. I don't see many brands doing this. I see a lot. I see this more in the info products niche and coaches niche, where they actually send like plain text emails with a question or some sort of engagement trigger to get the person to reply, and then they'll set up an automation on the back end that auto replies to that campaign. So what's an example of a reply boosting email? You could send, if you're in the skincare niche, I love to use this example, is because it's just so easy, the skincare niche, because it relates to me. I've worked with these brands and I just know them in and out. So say, for example, you can ask a question like, what is your go-to skincare routine right now? Right? Plain text email. You'll be surprised how many people have replied to that. Again, another level, you could say, reply to this email and let us know, and you'll have a chance to be featured in one of our upcoming social or Instagram or TikTok videos, right? Again, people love to help, and they love to be showcased and recognized for it. So you're tapping into two deep human psychology elements there. Again, people will reply. You'll be so surprised, and you should be doing this every 2 weeks. Yeah, every 2 weeks, sending a reply boosting email as a plain text, something super simple that engages with your audience. Why are you doing this? It drastically increases your deliverability. It makes you look better in the eyes of the email provider. So when you decide and when you're going to have a sale, you're more likely to be on the top of their inbox and more likely not to go in spam. And actually, one of the biggest ways to stay out of spam is by getting people to reply to your email, not opening, not clicking, by replying. Again, last point, but it just touches again, same on the reply boosting strategies, strategic plain text emails that improve sender reputation and engagement rates. Now, I'm going to give you the exact content calendar as well as sale playbook where you could implement these plain text emails where it makes sense. But for now, just keep this in mind that, you don't want to just be sending design only emails the whole time. Okay. So segmentation, before we get onto the calendar and the playbook, first we want to make sure we have our segments, right? So you have here the main core segments that predict buying. Again, take a screenshot of these. You can actually use Klaviyo's AI to build these out. You just prompt it with what it is and it will build it. You have your high intent 3-day segments. So these are people who have either recently browsed, abandoned cart, or been on the website. These are primed for immediate conversion opportunities. The engaged 30, 60, 90 days, start with 30, open the window up as you start to see that people are more, are engaging more. And then that's time-based. And then you have churn risk. So these are subscribers who are at risk of disengaging before they become inactive. All right. So you want to make sure you're implementing Klaviyo have RFM as advanced analytics, but they basically have an AI. Now in RFM, if you go on advanced analytics here, they've changed this recently. Predictive models, I believe. I don't have it on this account, but you can trial it out. And basically with the RFM predictive models, it actually predicts when subscribers are likely to churn, and you can build segments off of those, and you can make sure you're including those into your campaigns. I'm going to do a whole video just on predictive models because I think it can get really in depth really quickly. But just to start with, just build out your basic RAF segments, which Klaviyo will actually instruct you how to do when you start your free trial. VIP high AOV buyers. These are customers that are basically deserving of exclusive offers and early access privileges. And this is super crucial when it leads up to Black Friday, because you want to give these guys the best offers earlier than everybody else, because they are your VIP customers. They are your ride or dies. They're loyal. They've proven their loyalty to the brand, and you need to recognize and reward it. And that's what email and SMS is very good at doing. Last point is your reactivation segments. Generally, these aren't your sunsets, right? These aren't your people who are super unengaged. These are just people that have bought but haven't bought in a while. And perhaps now, especially going into Q4, your win back segments are going to be very, very important because they're likely going to purchase again. I've seen time and time again, the win back segments don't even buy for they'll be clicking, they'll be browsing, they may buy little things, but then when it comes to Black Friday, the win back segment just comes alive. Sometimes it performs just as good as your prospect segment, right? Really, because they are waiting for that opportunity to buy when really prices are at an all-time low. Depending on the brand, but usually, everyone loves a discount. If you're strategic, then following this 80-20 method, the win back segment know that you don't just give out discounts willy-nilly, right? If you're following the 80-20 strategy, which we'll get into more in a second, but if you're doing 80% content, 20% sales, and not sending sale after sale after sale, then your subscribers know that when you do a sale, is game on. They take advantage now, they're not going to be waiting. Whereas if you're sending emails every day, likely chances that your win back segment are just I can get a discount whenever. Content engines. So what does the 80% look like? What kind of campaigns can you send out for the 80%? So I've got a few features here: FAQ, product education, bestsellers, reviews, behind the scenes content, all the standard stuff, which I know you guys probably know. What I've done here is I've actually built out 100+ evergreen campaigns with large language model prompts that you can then use to build out. So these are all evergreen. Again, just go through it, pick the ones that you like. I like storytelling, run a multi-part story-driven campaign, create the first email in the storytelling series about brand, founder, or customer journey, designed to emotionally connect with a target audience. Now, I'll let you discern whether or not that needs to be a design email or a plain text. Storytelling, FYI, a little insider secret, very good if it's plain text, just so you know. Will perform very well, I guarantee it. But again, I'll leave this to your discretion, and you guys can just go in here and pick what you like and what you want to use. So this is your 80%, and I've put the 80%, 100+ evergreen campaigns. So this, the 20%, the sales strategy, this is your money maker. 20% of the effort brings 80% of the results. So this is where we're going to get most of our results for the month, right? So I've put together a sequence here of how I would approach a sale when you want to launch. We have the pre-launch, we have the launch, we have the follow-up, the last chance, and the final reminder. Okay, there's 5 points here. These are your foundational kind of stages within the sale process, right? And it's up to you as a brand or an email marketer or an agency owner to really build out of these foundations. What can you send out for a pre-launch, right? So in this case, we've got encouraging reply emails, countdown timers, hype emails where maybe you're giving little previews of behind the scenes of the product being made or built or shipped into the warehouse. There's just some ideas. Launch, super clear, very beautifully designed email that just shows conversion. Just shows design elements that are visually appealing to look at and shows the product in its best light. And that's conversion focused. And I've actually got some examples. Email Donut, a shout out to you. And they've got some really good sale emails that you can base off here. I've put this in again in this document. You can see the examples. But if you want to go over to emaildonut.com, click on email type, view more, and click on sale. And you can click tick, and then it actually shows you a bunch. Obviously you have to log in and sign up for more, but just to start with, you can click on these and you can see what it looks like, obviously, but then it actually gives you a little bit of a score of 86% what it's good for, which I like. But this is a really good example, super simple what the sale is, showing, the products in their best light. And this is for Labor Day. So it's also got the Labor Day theme. And it's just super clear what the offer is. 50% off bundles up to 25% off site-wide. Super simple. Nothing to complicate. Another Labor Day example here. Labor Day deal extended, ends today. It's super simple. Like, there's more simple it is, the more direct of and clear what the offer is, the better it's going to convert. Again, there's a nice one here, which labor less, savor more. See the deal. I'd even argue, okay, no, this is cool. I mean, it mentions the sale here, so it's still pretty good. You could even use like a badge, some kind of badge like this. 10% is kind of blurring into the background, so you kind of miss it. I didn't really see it. I would have brought this up and put it here, so it's just clear to see in the top fold, but otherwise really, really strong. So go check it out. Email donut for sale emails. Also, they have different email types for content as well. Benefits, features, before, afters, which is, again, some of those are mentioned in here. All right. So again, we have the sales strategy in this sheet. So if you guys want to check it out, you can see the different stages, what the description is, and how to create it in Klaviyo. I've given you basically what the segments look like for each stage, and also the A/B testing, what you should be A/B testing on the launch, just to get some data in as well, because likely you'll have more engagement, more volume on these emails, so you can gather data as well, which helps with testing. And then also featurewithcentric.com, which is where we use our countdown timers for the emails. All right, so check it out, should help you guys. And then what I wanted to also include an example of a calendar, and so what the 80/20 looks like inside of an email calendar. And I use November 2025 as a rough guide. I'm not going to go through all of this right now, but basically I've split this out from the 80% being the beginning of the month, and then we lead into Black Friday, and that's where we go full in with a 20%. So week 1, week 2, week 3, it's all about basically like teasing about what's to come. So you're already hyping it at the beginning, but not to get sales, right? To get engagement. So for example, the November kickoff, what's coming this month, it's like, hey guys, this is what's coming. What are you most excited about? And you ask them to reply, ask them to click, and get them engaging with the email, right? Like, this is what's coming. What are you most excited about, right? You can kind of tease about what's coming. You don't have to give the offer. You don't have, if you're launching products, you don't have to say we're launching this product unless you want to, but you want to basically get people excited for the month ahead. And then we just move into all the other evergreen campaigns. We've got product education, early gift guides, exclusive teas for VIPs, early access, single day test campaign. So you want to start stress testing, which basically just means like opening up your segments more, social proof, Black Friday teasers, and then going into the full, shebang. So again, I'm going to include this. There's an example of the calendar here. You can check it out yourself. And that should help you guys plan for November. Okay, so phase 6, right? Testing that matters. So we want to be testing different things in our campaigns all throughout the year. We have subject lines. Again, it's not my favorite thing to test, but you should still be always testing them. And then offer mechanics. So comparing things like percentage discounts against tiered bundles to maximize average order value. So before you think like, let's just do a site-wide sale, why don't you try doing a flash sale and creating a bundle with a discount on the bundle? All right. And there's a good example is Dr. Squatch here did up to 50% off bundles. They did do 25% off site wide as well. So it's kind of like a double offer, which is also good. But they make the bundles look more attractive, right? So it's like 50% off bundles. Wow. Okay. That's bigger than site wide. I'll go check the bundles out first. And then if I want, then I'll check site wide stuff. Usually you want to offer more value on the bundles, but just makes, so it makes sense that your margins are slightly higher. All right, so testing site-wide discounts versus bundle discounts, super important. Third point, email design formats. So again, I'm not going to hammer this point, but really plain text versus designs, you want to be doing that a lot. And then send time optimization, morning versus evening send clusters to identify peak engagement. Okay, so I know I said earlier, backtrack a little bit to email design formats. When do you send plain texts in the 80/20 side of things? So again, I'll let you discern what makes sense. I'm not going to handhold too much, but just so you know, plain text is very personal and it feels very conversational. Okay. So things that come from the founder directly, any updates on the company, any things that you want to get a reply on, maybe even follow-ups as well can do really well. So those are the 4 areas, right? Anything that's founder related, anything that's company updates, mission, things like that. Follow-ups are really, really good as well. And again, anything that asks a question, if you want to get a reply, those are the 4 ways I would start looking at using them. And you can apply that to the 80% and also think about the 20% with your sales. Your follow-ups, even your final reminders can also be a good chance to be a bit more personal. So now that you know, all right, we've got everything ready, final phase, we're pretty much ready to go. But one problem I notice brands do is that they're ready to go and they've got everything ready, all the assets, everything brilliant. But then they don't, when things are going out, they're not constantly checking in to review the data. Okay. And this is why it's so important to be quick on reviewing your data. You want to be putting together a weekly schedule, like we do here at Hayes, a weekly schedule of reviewing the data and finding where there's missed opportunities. Maybe there's different insights and it's ways you can strategically adapt based on what is currently happening in your niche and market. So as an example, you can adapt it to your rhythm and routine, but on Monday, do a strategic review. Okay. So check out basically the previous week. You want to be analyzing KPI performance, again, your click-through rates, your placed order rates, and you want to identify the 3 most impactful levers for improvement. So if you see last week, okay, CTRs in these specific campaigns were really low, but in the plain text, they were really high. How can you apply that knowledge to maybe send out another plain text next week that, will move the needle up a little bit more, so your average CTRs are bumped up slightly higher? Okay, if that's that's just an example. Obviously, without having data to hand, I can't give you a concrete example, but just based on previous experience, we found that, to bump up CTRs, maybe we have to change the style of the email. Maybe it's shorter or maybe it's a plain text. Again, analyze that. If there's one email that got better placed order rates than the other, like for example, in this case, if you noticed you did a bundle offer versus a site-wide offer, and like Dr. Squatch, they did this and this email out, I would review, okay, did more people buy the bundles from this email or did more people go site-wide? Right? And then through that, you can come up with some strategic ideas. So, okay, more people bought bundles. Okay, fantastic. So next week, we need to say, instead of doing site-wide emails, we're going to switch one of those or 2 of those out to be focused purely on the bundles. And we're going to do a before and after of those bundles. Or we're going to do a deep dive highlight into the bundles and the benefits that you get in that bundle. All right. So this is, again, you analyze what's working, what's not, and then you can pivot. Tuesday to today's execution. So really, this is like go time. And you're writing, you're designing, you're editing, you're approving, you're getting everything out. Okay. And then learning and planning is on Friday. So again, this is just document key insights so far for the week, and that prepares you for the next week's campaign strategy. So you just you're continually improving. And this is what I mean about the compound effect. If you have a habit and a plan every day of the week of what it is that you need to focus on, you can stay focused and then you can just continually grow. And yeah, boring beats brilliant. So consistent execution compounds into extraordinary results. It really does. And yeah, that's why I say email isn't sexy, but it brings in like amazing revenue opportunities for businesses. So it's just completely to do with consistency. Okay, so results and proof. So I know I've been hammering on a lot about the strategy and how we go about it. I just want to prove to you that this actually works. Okay, so you can see here two metrics, and I'll explain both of them. So first of all, the conversion value, most important thing, right? We see a 30.5% campaign revenue lift achieved within a 90-day time frame of this implementation of the system. So 3 months, and you can already see a huge improvement compared to what we were doing previous year. And there's no changes. We're not doing different sales. We're following the same kind of like holiday calendar and just switching it out with the learnings, the 80-20 ratio, and also just making sure deliverability is good, following all of these systems I've gone through. The second point is the email revenue share as well. So that 30.5% actually had a 30% increase in email revenue share as well compared to last year, which is incredible. The total recipients is down because, like I said, if you're cleaning your list, if you're doing your deliverability checks beforehand every 2 weeks, you should see recipients going either slightly up or staying the same or down. Okay. And in this case, this brand hadn't done a list clean in a long time. So obviously there's more dramatic decrease here. We partner with tools like Aurita to make sure that we're unsuppressing profiles that are likely to buy again, especially during sale events. So I recommend, if you are seeing that it's just constantly dipping down and you're like, whoa, okay, why are all these, we're suppressing all these people, but maybe some of them want to buy, check Aurita out because they can help you re-engage some of those subscribers, which you otherwise wouldn't even know to re-engage. So that's the results and proof of what we do here at Hays, combining again with the recipients with the Aurita. And why does this system work? So first of all, balanced cadence. You got perfect harmony between value content and your sale-driven content, asking for the sale. You also got behavior-led segmentation, different foundational segments that you can build off of. I mean, it genuinely is, it's a sales strategy. In this case, it multiplies revenue because it extracts revenue from what you're already going to be doing in your marketing and basically using those existing promotional opportunities to get people to buy without having to do sale-based campaigns all the time. And it's compounding. So like I mentioned with the weekly review ops, you have a compounding system and things to test and things to review every single week that allows you to compound the results, and it continuously will optimize and give you growth. So that's the full breakdown of how we added a 30% extra revenue in just 90 days using the 80-20 campaign system. Now, if you take one thing away, it's this: every email you send makes you money. And the difference between average brands and winning brands is the system behind those sends. Now, if you want this built for you, including the deliverability tune-up, evergreen campaign calendar, and the sale playbook that squeezes 2 to 3x from every promo that you send, book a 15-minute audit with me using the link below. I'll even send you the campaigns calendar templates, 100 evergreen campaigns, and the starter segments, as well as the sales strategy and everything, just for showing up. I'll give you that for free. But for now, thank you for watching. And remember, don't just send emails, build a system that compounds. And I'll see you in the next one.